This is Kal Kat, the Kal Kat's turn. This is a review of the Lower Decks. We'll always have Tom Paris, the third episode. It's a Kal Kat episode. I didn't write it, but it's definitely on the same wavelength. Tom Paris is going to visit the station. That's right out of Chimera. Remember that. Lower Decks takes place 8 years before Star Trek Chimera, so it totally could happen. Absolutely. It wouldn't affect anything. Just the same, they didn't have him there very much. Robert McNeill was there very briefly. So there was an A story and a B story. The A story wasn't really the there's two stories going on. Apparently Shax has returned from the dead, and they're trying to keep it a secret from Rutherford and the other crewmen. They ask him, and Rutherford freaks out in the turbolift about that. We have Tom Paris visiting the ship randomly. Apparently he knew Freeman from before. I'm not sure how that works, but I guess it could. But we have them all keeping that a mystery. Meanwhile, the doctor is freaking out, and she's like, the Doctor Cat, and she's like, going, and she has originally Tendi to go on the mission, but Tendi has to go get an artifact of hers, a big artifact, to bring it back. On the Caton homeworld, Drellis or whatever. So there's a reference to Larry Nimitz in this. The character is a reference to Larry Nimitz. Or a Caton planet. It's a Caton planet. It's not. Yeah, it's not. It's the Kazinti Caton planet. Because the Man Kazinti Wars would be the other thing. So it's kind of confusing. There's two different cat bases. Yeah. Anyway, so but so Tendi invites the Mariner on the road trip, on a girl trip. Yeah, of course it goes wrong, and they end up breaking the artifact, and then they have to go to they go to a free cloud type of place, but it's not free cloud. They go somewhere else. They go to an Orion place where things happen to them there, and she has to pretend to be a pirate Orion. And of course, they throw in a Kal Kat line where Mariner's Tendi tells Mariner to be like a pirate, and she goes, "Nyar!" Oh my goodness! This pirate guy's all, "What's wrong with your voice?" Anyway, so Nyar. But yeah, they discovered earlier on. They went to the Caton planet because they peeked in the box that it was a Acacian sex doll, apparently, with a big fluffy cat post thing, roughly in the form of a Acacian male. And then they break it by accident. Then they have to go to the planet and fix it. So it's attacked me. It's an Asian sex doll. Ew, they're more concerned with the doll, getting the doll fixed on the Orion planet. Meanwhile, on the ship we have, I guess, Tom Paris, who goes to the bridge. And, well, Boimler is not recognized by any of the security on the ship, and is trapped behind doors, and then trapped in a turbo lift where he's talking to he's got his fan plate of Tom Paris. Apparently he got above the bridge somehow. And eventually falls into the bridge, and then he's immediately beat up by Tom Paris. He tells him, "I'll show you how we kick ass on Voyager." You know, I don't think he actually fought anybody on Voyager. That series, not too much. He was married to the Klingon chick, but to Blana Torres. But yeah, this earlier character was Nicholas Locarno, but they changed the name to Tom Paris and made him the other character. Kind of Chimera version. We just said it's his twin brother from his. It's not a previous marriage. It's just his twin brother, and she took the last name Locarno, which is the original name of the family name. So. Paris and Locarno are twin brothers. Literally, they're twin brothers. They do kind of establish that with the Boimler and the transporter twin. So yeah, Locarno could have showed up. Then that character would have made sense. But that would be convoluted, so they didn't do that. Voyager, they call it Voy at one point. It's funny. So as though they're doing some Voyager love there. Yeah. They made Paris look like he had more hair, which is interesting as an action figure. Yeah, he doesn't have. I think he's a little bit more bald than me. Anyway, but yeah. So we have Tom Paris, not Locarno, and it doesn't interfere with the Chimera stories or Starship locations at all because it doesn't really do much of anything. They called it "We'll Always Have Paris," Tom Paris, as a play on "We'll Always Have Paris," a episode of Star Trek, which indirectly is the name is a parody anyway, because when Jerry Taylor and them were writing Voyager, that's where they got the name from, that episode of TNG. So it's full circle. It's poetry. It rhymes. Which is Lucas, but yeah, different guy, different universe, Star Wars. But yeah, so sure, it was all right. It was, they don't explain how Shax is back. He just is. Shax is back. Shax. Just because on the other side he saw the dark mountains of. He did tell Rutherford about it, and now Rutherford's freaked out. But they just don't explain it. Because they brought him back. Kind of like they did with that old episode of Family Guy from a couple of years ago, where they killed the dog and then brought him back. Like the Time Warp or something. Because they realized that was stupid that they did that. They pissed off a lot of fans, so they had to bring it back. It's probably so it would. Also, they're spoofing the Lieutenant Yar coming back as Sela, kind of, sort of, and a number of other. Yeah, okay, it's just whatever. It's not supposed to make sense. It's a comedy, so it's a cartoon. Yeah, they could have just said, "Oh, like Bugs Bunny, he's back, yay!" Anyway, so we'll always have Paris. Yeah, so Locarno does appear in the Starship Locations sequel, which is in production. So he is in there in the pilot. We're not saying he's in the whole thing, just in the pilot. Just so you know, he's just in the pilot. We're not gonna cause the controversy that Kevin Smith did to the He-Man by not saying, "Oh, he's only in the pilot," and he appears as a cameo later on. He-Man. It's not like that. No, we know he doesn't really appear that much in it. That he's just there as like in the story. We don't want to give it away. He appears in the story, but only in it's not about him. It's about his wife. It's about Ezra Dex, and even she only appears after mainly in the pilot, and then it's the rest of the crew. So in that story, which is different from this, because since it's a version of Lower Decks, but 30 years later. Vision of Lower Decks, but 30 years later. So yeah. Anyway, so it isn't really, but theirs is a version of Silly Track.